why even bother with this weird parsec unit if we already have the unit light year and we know how far a parsec is in light years, and it's not even really that different in terms of like order of magnitude? This is a good question, and it comes back to the basic idea behind units. And at their heart, units are basically just ratios of things. You know, we all agree on what a centimeter is or what an inch is, and so if I tell you that something is, you know, my shoe is 6 inches, I'd have a really small feet. But that only means something because you know how far an inch is. It doesn't have any intrinsic meaning. Like an inch is just an inch. You know, a kilogram used to be just a chunk of metal that was sitting in like Paris or something. And any mass you measured was just a ratio of how much mass that thing was compared to that chunk of metal. Now, the modern SI system has been, all the units have been redefined in terms of constants just to make everything more accurate and consistent. But this is a very modern thing, and it's not like the basis of the units. It's a kind of retroactive thing. Like, we have this unit, how can we define it in terms of constants? And so you can choose units that you don't actually know how far the unit is because you're just using it as a ratio. So for example, back in the day, before we ever knew how far away the Earth was from the sun, we could measure the orbits of other planets in the solar system in terms of how far the Earth was away. So we could measure their orbits in AU because we knew 1 AU was our orbit, but we didn't know how far an AU was. And back when they first came up with this parsec unit, which I believe was in 1913, we didn't have as good of an idea of what an AU was, and so it made more sense to have this measurement that was relative to an AU rather than trying to convert it to a different distance unit where there might be introducing more inaccuracies. And it's just more closely related to the measurement that you're making, so that the distance in parsecs is always related to the measurement of parallax and arc seconds, regardless of how well you know an AU. But now this just doesn't make as much sense to us in modern times because we have a really good idea of what an AU is. In fact, since 2012, it has had an exact distance definition, and we can convert between parsecs and light years and meters and whatever we want. But the heart of the unit is just a ratio, and the ratio you can know better than you know any individual measurement. I hope that made sense.